Hi, this is Jack Berry with the Michigan Golfer on Television, and we're here this morning at this fabulous new Eagle Eye Golf Club in Bath, Michigan, just north of East Lansing, just a little bit north of Michigan State University, where Chris Lutzke is a two-degree champion here from Michigan State. Pete Dye was one of the
great to be here.
Great golf course architects of all time, and Paul Albanese.
How you doing, Jack? Nice to see you.
Paul is a partner with Chris, and tell us a little bit about how this all came about. How long have you been with Pete, and how did that start?
Well, I've been with Pete nearly 2 decades, believe it or not, and just a lot of hard work, a lot of years, a lot of golf courses under my belt. And when this project came up, I was at Michigan State, and I met with Darrell Kessler, and he asked me if I could design this course, and we got a hold of Pete and try to figure out if he'd collaborate with us, and he did, and then that's why we're standing here today.
And Pete, what you taught this young fellow a couple of things or two. What, starting that over at Kohler,
way before Kohler. We started at Kohler, but been many miles since Kohler. But boy, this is a great golf course. I can say this because Chris did the whole thing out here today, and I just went around it, and it's fabulous condition too. So what Mr. Kessler's doing with his clubhouse, I mean, this is really quite a project they have here, and to see the golf course and see the condition, and Chris has picked up on everything you can think about there. But, it's really fun to come back and see what he's done, and especially to see it in such great condition. The superintendent down here has done a fabulous job. The whole project is way more than I ever anticipated, and Chris has done even a little bit more than I anticipated.
Pete doesn't get paid a dime for this either, I want you to know that. But Pete, it has a little of the links look that you have over at Whistling Straits.
Well, it definitely does, and the you know, that fescue grasses here in Michigan, you fellows are the founders of that, and they've done a good job, and it's such a great piece of ground in respect that's wide open. You feel like you're isolated out here. It's really like a golf course should be.
What was it like when you came out here first, Chris?
Well, boy, there's a lot of corn, and it was flatter than a board, and there wasn't any water. And we knocked down the corn and started moving some dirt, and one thing led to another, and we had a golf hole, and blinked my eyes, and there were 18 of them.
I think it probably took a little bit more than that. What was the first course that you worked on for Pete?
Well, it was in 1985, and I was really young, and it was Black Wolf Run up there in the river course. The first 9 holes they put in up there for Herb Kohler.
And Pete, how did you happen to hire him?
God only knows. I remember him out there picking up sticks, and it looked like he was picking up sticks faster than anybody. So he's been picking them up ever since. And really, and he's done a great job. He's finished here at school at Michigan State, and all the degrees and everything, agronomy and landscape architecture. So Chris has got a great future, and he right off the bat, this first golf course is really 100%. And I'm sure the golfers over here in this area are going to really appreciate this golf course. And Mr. Kessler has really gone all out, and the two of them.
Okay. Great. Pete, you kind of had a start in golf course design here in Michigan, not too far from here, down at Roderick Farm.
That's right. In fact, that was really my start. I was hired by the University of Michigan to build a golf course, which I had no experience, and I wish I had the experience that Chris has had here, because he's way farther down the line at this golf course with experience than I had at Roderick Farm. But I will never understand why they hired me at the University of Michigan, but I certainly appreciate it. But that really changed my whole life, because that was the first major project I ever had.
And that was when Fred Mathai didn't want you to cut any trees, wasn't that it?
Mr. Mathai didn't want anything out there. He wouldn't especially cut down the trees. And at that time, I was the only thing I'd ever seen in the United States is Trent Jones, Mr. Jones's course. And I have a great admiration for Trent Jones. So I copied a lot of Mr. Jones's features there at Roderick Farm. And I remember I'd run into Mr. Jones after that. And he said, "Pete, you've done a lot of fine work around the country." And I said, "Thank you, Mr. Jones." He said, but then he'd go on to say, "But that job you did at Roderick Farm, I think that's your best." Did
that shock you a little bit?
No. I always was a good friend of Mr. Jones. And And such a great piece of ground at Rhetoric Farm. It's really been and my guys, no golf course gets more play.
That's right. Chris, what about your experiences with an owner? Have you had anybody tell you don't chop down any trees?
Well, I mean, obviously, yeah, courses I've done with Pete, and there was a number 6 out here. Daryl wanted to keep a tree, and I snuck out many times trying to knock that tree down, and he won because it's still there. It's on number 6 green, and I saw it yesterday, and it looks pretty good. I'm glad we kept it. So yeah, that's my tree story for sure.
You mean sometimes an owner does have a little feel for it?
Absolutely, and tend to listen to Daryl. No two ways about it. He's paying the bills, and we're trying to work together, and it all worked out well.
Oh, terrific. I understand that you're working down at Virginia Tech after this. Is that right?
Yeah, I am, and everything's going fantastic down there. We're on the new river, and Pete's in there all the time. I think we're doing something real special down there.
And Pete, you've got it's going to be 3 courses that are on links, 3 major championships on links courses this year. What are we looking forward to at Whistling Straits?
Well, it'll all be in the eyes of the beholder, but I hope that the weather gets in our favor up there. It's been so wet, as you know, here in Michigan, and the grass is so lush right now, and it's not behaving like it should. But if August turns around and we get some dry weather, and the fescue gets a little thinner, I think we'll be okay. But the greens are such up there at Kohler that these players are great, and they'll get to that golf course. Don't worry about it. Those young men, they'll get to it one way or the other, I'm sure.
Is this going to be more Troon or Shinnecock?
Well, I'll tell you, it will not be Shinnecock over my dead body, I'll guarantee you. I think that, a lot of people have changed. Ben Hogan won the U.S. Open at Oakmont. Great. With a Stimpmeter reading about 5 or 6, and this new stuff is all polyester nouveau. So I don't agree with anything that they've done with this kind of speed.
Well, I think I've heard you talk before about that back in the 30s and the 40s when a lot of those courses were designed, that the green speed was a lot different than what it is now.
Oh, no question. And as you notice, if anybody, when they watch the British Open just yesterday, the golf professionals have a more difficult time putting a green speed of 9 than they do at 12 or 13. I think this 12 or 13 is just something that come out of I don't know where it came from. I do know where it came from, but I'm not going to say.
Okay, and Paul's spent a lot of time here in the Michigan area and worked on a lot of golf courses here. What's it like with your new partner?
Well, I've known Chris for about 10, 12 years, and when I first met Chris, he was working for Pete, had worked for Pete for a long time, and I was just intrigued by his relationship with Pete and all the knowledge he had gleaned from Pete over the years. And Pete, I wrote a paper about Pete when I was in school, so I've always been a big fan of Pete guys. And so then I met his protege, and I just felt like there was a synergy there that Chris and I would be able to utilize in our future. And lo and behold, we got an opportunity to be partners, and we're really enjoying that process. And we love the fact that we have a nice relationship with Pete. Pete's obviously one of the greatest architects ever to walk the planet, so we're just trying to utilize as much knowledge as he'll give us.
Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen. It's been enjoyable.
Thanks, Jack.